Hey there everyone, welcome back to the Ocarina of Time Dungeon Guide. Today we're going to be taking a look at the bottom of the well. This is another mini dungeon, like the ice cavern that we took a look at just a few videos ago, but even as far as mini dungeons go, bottom of the well is extremely short. If you know what you're doing, if you know where you're going, you can be in and out of the bottom of the well in just a couple of minutes. But instead of doing that, we will be collecting all of the small keys, as well as the map and compass, in addition to a really important item that we're going to be needing for the Shadow Temple coming up next. So here we go, getting started on the bottom of the well. As you can see, we're going to be moving through some illusionary walls. I almost call them invisible walls. It's kind of the opposite, isn't it? It's a wall that has an appearance, but you can just move through it freely. And it's kind of an annoying part about the bottom of the well. Not only are there walls that you can pass through, but there's also holes in the ground that you can't see and you'll just suddenly be falling through them. This is actually an example right here. I'm going to be doing this on purpose here because the map is down below. But otherwise, there's a lot of holes in the bottom of the well that will drop you down in here. This is sort of a large room with sort of pathways that go off in all directions. And when you fall through one of those holes in the bottom of the well, you end up here. So we've got a locked door up there that we haven't seen yet, but you'll need to collect those silver rupees in order to unlock that door. But before we do that, we're going to come over here, bomb these rocks, and in the back end of this cave over here, like I said, we're going to be finding the map. And the real goal with this area is after collecting the map, you don't want to end up down here anymore. This whole area is a big pitfall. It's like a big trap. So we're going to go ahead and grab this map and leave here, and if everything goes right, we won't end up down here anymore. Those ReDeads, of course, can freeze us in place, which is a pretty spooky thing to be dealing with. I usually give them a pretty wide berth. They move so slowly, and that guy's not even going to stand. He's like, you're way too far away. I'm just gonna crouch back down and continue doing ReDead things over here. But yeah, even though those guys can freeze you from really far away, as you can see, they usually don't bother you a whole lot unless you get real close to them. But anyway, continuing to collect the silver rupees, the last one is going to be right there. We're just going to unlock this door, and this leads back to the previous areas that we were in before. Of course, this looks like a dead end, but there's yet another illusionary wall. And coming over here, we're actually back at the entrance of the dungeon now. So that's kind of nice. A familiar area if you're paying attention. Otherwise, I haven't pointed out that this area that we're in right here is a big loop. If you were to follow either direction and just keep on going, you would end up back here again. We saw that breakable mound right there. You can kind of tell that it was breakable by that sort of crack. That's sort of a familiar crack shape that's in certain areas of the game that sort of lets you know that you can blow this up with bombs. So we'll blow that up, and down inside were some bomb chew. Those are not required to beat the dungeon, but they're nice to have, and I've yet to actually find any in this run-through of the game. Coming over here, we'll find this pool with these iron bars right here that you can swim under. You may have noticed down there at the bottom there was a chest. That chest does not contain a small key. I do forget what's in it. But it'll be something, like bombs or Deku sticks or something like that. Something that's not critical for completing bottom of the well. Coming in here, we will find some sarcophagi. I think that's how you say that word. Plural of sarcophagus. I'm assuming that we can't say that they are coffins because they're made of stone, but what do I know? Anyway, there was that mummy there, which is essentially just a reskinned ReDead. They function exactly the same. But otherwise, you'll see some torches around. If you light them up, they'll open a sarcophagus, and inside sometimes there's items, sometimes there's enemies. In this one in the back corner that's full of bats, and I'm really struggling to hit that last one, but if you adjust the camera just right, you'll find a small key just chilling in this one, which is kind of crazy. It's not like it's in a small chest or anything. That key is really easy to miss, because if you look at the map, even before you get that small key, there's no chests or anything, so it's really easy to think that there's nothing important in that room. So if you're looking to collect all the small keys, it's sort of an interesting thing about the bottom of the well is you really don't need to be getting all these keys. You can kind of beeline it for the important item. There's a mini boss fight here in the bottom of the well that we will be taking a look at here in a little bit. But you can pretty much go straight for it and then leave, and you don't have to pick up all these keys. But hey, you're a completionist, right? So let's go ahead and 100% this dungeon. Coming over here, we'll find this strange statue as it's sort of spewing water all over the place. Navi said that it's flooding the entire area. So we'll go ahead and flip that off using Zelda's Lullaby. Who needs switches when you can play songs to turn things on and off? And anyway, by lowering that water, it's going to open up a couple of areas that were flooded before. We saw that one chest previously. That's how you would now collect that. But like I said, there's no key or anything in there. This is probably going to look a little weird. I'm just going to dip into that room and immediately leave. There's a lot of invisible holes right there that we would probably fall through if we were to try and get through that area right now. I'm actually not going to return to that room because if you go past that room, it's going to lead to this area over here on the other side of these bars. And really the only thing that's there is a gold Skulltula, and there's a chest there. It does not have a key in it. I think it's a Hylian shield, I think. But regardless, it's not exactly a critical path that we need to go down in order to complete the bottom of the well, so we'll just go ahead and skip it. The only reason I went down there at all is just to kind of show you, not only am I trying to show where all the small keys are, I guess, but I'm also showing where the locked doors are. Moving on, though, there's this tunnel that was down here. This was filled with water before, so we weren't able to enter that tunnel until we lowered the water. And this is where the mini-boss fight is. So I was talking about how quickly you can do the bottom of the well. If you beeline it for that statue, lower the water, and then just come directly into here and do this fight, then that's how you would do bottom of the well super fast. But anyway, getting past that real quick, we're going to find Dead Hand here. Probably the most terrifying entity in Ocarina of Time. The way this boss works is he will move away, and then he'll sort of be invisible or underground for a while. And I believe if you stand around for a really, really long time, he will show himself eventually, but you can force him to show himself by getting grabbed by one of these hands. So again, we hit him a few times, we wait for him to drop his head a little bit, and we slash him as much as we can before he disappears. And once he's gone, we intentionally get grabbed again by the hands, and then he'll pop right back out and we can continue the fight. I'm using Deku Sticks here. It's kind of wasteful, but Deku Sticks do more damage than the Kokiri sword, so I'm kind of making this fight go a little bit faster. I tried to do a jump slash there. It can be sort of tricky to jump slash Dead Hand. His weak point is just his head, and it's pretty easy. You know, he won't lower his head until he's really close to you. And when you're that close, when you jump slash, you kind of just whiff it. It's definitely possible to do, but that's kind of why you didn't see me do that a whole lot during that boss fight. But anyway, here's the Lens of Truth. This, of course, allows us to see where all of those illusionary surfaces and holes are, so hopefully we won't be falling into that bottom area anymore. And this is kind of fun. Equipping that and using it in the very room that you get the Lens of Truth in, you'll actually find a hidden chest back here. This is pretty neat. There's a yellow rupee, or I guess the game just calls it a huge rupee, worth 200. I can't even hold nearly that much. I haven't found any of the larger wallets in my playthrough here. So yes, there are some invisible chests throughout the game. There's not very many of them, so don't be running around with the Lens of Truth on all the time. I'm sure the game would love for you to believe that there's secrets hidden all throughout the game, but there just really isn't. There was another chest there. That's another non-critical chest. It just has some items in it. Again, like the other one, I don't remember what it is. That one may be bombs. Otherwise, we're going to be running around with the Lens of Truth on. Sorry, I may have misled you there a second ago. I said don't run around with the Lens of Truth on all the time. I just meant to say that, like, when you leave this dungeon, there's not a whole lot of stuff that the Lens of Truth is used for. Usually it's pretty obvious, but in the bottom of the well, it's not so obvious, and you really should have the Lens of Truth on, mostly all the time. And as you can see, I'm sort of turning it on and off, and that allows you to conserve magic. As you can see, my magic bar is still full. If you turn it on and turn it off real fast, it uses nothing. But anyway, we can come through into this area, and this is where we find out that, yes, there is actually an area in the middle of the bottom of the well. Got some scary jail cells and some torture devices, it looks like. Blood spatter on the ground. Don't worry, this game's rated E for everyone. Here we've got a pretty sneaky chest. If you're in that center room and you look through the entrance of that jail cell, you'll be like, hey, look, a big chest, and you're gonna go for it and fall down and have to go through that lower area again. But as you can see, there's sort of like a hidden side entrance there using the Eye of Truth. So we'll go ahead and grab the compass. It's kind of late to be grabbing the compass now, because we're basically done. And again, I'm just showing off where all the locked doors are. This is yet another small room with just a gold scuttle in it. And there is one more locked door, and it's here within this sort of jail cell area. Navi's given us a heads up that there's wall masters here. Those are those enemies that will grab hold of you and take you back to the beginning of the dungeon. Not that that's very far away. And here, this is going to be our final room. We've got a room here that's filled with bats. We can kind of see a little bit of a nook over there, but it doesn't really look like we can get over there. But first I'm going to clear out all the bats. I don't like trying to figure things out with them flying around. But of course, you can probably guess what's going on here. If we use the Eye of Truth, we'll actually see that there's an invisible pathway around the outside wall of this room. And there's yet another gold scutula for you. But anyway, that's pretty much going to be it for the bottom of the well. Thank you so much for watching. Coming up next, as you can see, past me is heading back to the Temple of Time. Going to turn back to Adult Link, because I am gearing up for the Shadow Temple, which is coming up next. Hope to see you there, and I'll see you in the next video.